Hello and thank you for joining me. Today, I want to discuss the process of applying for an export license. Export licensing is an important component of international trade that regulates the shipment of certain products and technologies from one country to another. It is a process that requires careful consideration and adherence to specific regulations, as failure to comply can result in severe penalties. In this presentation, we will walk through the key steps involved in the export license application process, including eligibility requirements, documentation, and timelines. By the end of this session, you should have a better understanding of the factors that require consideration and attention to improve the quality of your license application. A clear and accurate application containing all relevant supporting documentation reduces the risk or rejection or delays caused by requests for clarification or additional information. When it comes to license applications, there are several factors to consider beyond simply filling out an online form. One of the most important aspects is gathering and organizing information about the customer and the product. This information will be used to support the application and determine the type of license that is required. The nature of the product and its export control determination is another critical factor to consider. This will play a key role in determining if a license is needed. In addition, the specific location of both the customer and the end user will also impact the license that is required. To support your application, it may also be necessary to obtain a undertaking from the end user. These will help to demonstrate that a bona fide business transaction is taking place. In summary, a successful license application requires careful consideration of a variety of factors, including product information, export control determination, customer and end-user location, and supporting documentation. There are several types of export licenses in the UK. The most common in use are standard individual export licenses, SEALs, and open general export licenses, OGELs. OGELs are used for specific types of goods to certain destinations. You register to use OGELs, and further use of these licenses do not require further application once you have been authorized to use a specific OGEL. It should be noted, however, that OGELs are only for use at certain locations and for certain products. In the UK, there are over 40 different OGELs available, and each has its own specific conditions for use. It is important to obtain the correct license for goods being exported outside of the UK, as failure to do so can result in fines or criminal charges. Export licenses are a crucial aspect of international trade, and it is essential to comply with all UK regulations and license conditions to avoid commercial and legal issues. When applying for an export license, carefully review the terms and conditions that apply to your specific situation. Export licenses require compliance with specific conditions, which can vary based on the destination country, the goods and technology being exported, and the end user. You may be required to inform ECJU when the license is exhausted or completed, or in the case of a temporary export, when the goods have returned to the UK. It's important to ensure that your end user is aware of license conditions and is able to comply with them. If you are temporarily exporting goods, such as for a trade show or event, you may need to provide additional documentation for clearance to display. Overall, obtaining an export license can be complex and time-consuming. However, by carefully reviewing and complying with all relevant terms and conditions, you can help ensure a smooth and successful export transaction. Effective stakeholder engagement is essential for successful export license applications. It involves identifying and communicating with relevant stakeholders, which may include government agencies, suppliers, consignees, and end users. Clear communication, active listening, and collaboration are crucial for better outcomes and promoting transparency and accountability. To further improve stakeholder engagement, consider engaging stakeholders early in the process, tailoring communication to meet licensing needs. When it comes to exporting goods, supporting documentation is a crucial aspect that can make or break the process. Without proper documentation, your application for an export license could be delayed or even rejected, leading to lost opportunities and revenue. Therefore, it's important to ensure that all the necessary documentation is in order before submitting your application. Here are some additional points to keep in mind when preparing your supporting documentation for an export license application. Purchase orders. These should include a detailed breakdown of the goods being exported, their value, the parties involved and destination of the goods. Commercial details and interested parties should be defined. This can include manufacturers, consignees, vendors, distributors, brokers, and end users. Export control classification numbers. These numbers indicate the level of control required for the export of certain goods and can be obtained from the relevant government agency. End-use statements. These documents provide information on how the exported goods will be used and are required for certain types of goods or destinations. Technical specification documents that clearly explain the nature and purpose of the goods. It's also important to ensure that all documentation is accurate and up to date. This includes verifying the information provided by your suppliers. By taking the time to prepare complete and accurate documentation, you can avoid potential issues and ensure a smoother export process. Remember to double-check all information for accuracy and completeness before submitting your application. Drafting a comprehensive and detailed export license application is crucial for businesses that engage in international trade. A well-drafted application can help ensure timely approval by relevant authorities. When drafting an export license application, it is important to keep in mind the following tips to ensure success. Research and understand the regulations and requirements of the destination country. This will help ensure that the application includes all necessary information and documentation. Provide detailed information about the end user and the intended use of the goods. This may include information about the end user's business or industry, the specific purpose for which the goods will be used, and any relevant certifications or licenses held by the end user. Include documentation that demonstrates compliance with all applicable laws, regulations, and sanctions. This may include information about any required permits or certifications, as well as documentation showing compliance with export control laws and regulations. Be thorough and accurate when providing information about the goods being exported. This may include information about the quantity, value, and nature of the goods, as well as any relevant technical specifications or certifications. By following these tips, businesses can increase their chances of success when applying for an export license. This can help them to expand into new markets, increase profitability, and build valuable relationships with international partners. In addition, research the regulations and policies specific to the destination country. May include trade embargoes or restrictions on certain goods. Establish a relationship with the export specialist or chambers of commerce that can provide additional support or advice where required. Factor in extra time for the collection of supporting documents, the application process or other unforeseen circumstances that could impact the timeline for exporting goods. Always maintain open communication with all parties involved. Remember, obtaining an export control license doesn't have to be a daunting process. With the right guidance and resources, you can successfully navigate the application process and ensure that your products are exported legally and responsibly.